Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT coming to you on Google Hangout to break down another fight. I just did the Victor Ortiz versus Andre Berto fight. Really wasn't interested in it, so if I didn't really say much in that video, wasn't that interested in the video or in that fight, but I still had to do it. Still, because I want to break down all the fights that are coming up. But anyway, the fight I'm doing now is the fight I'm really interested in this weekend. It'll be between the undercard as well. On the undercard, you're gonna have James DeGale putting his IBF title on the line, fighting super middleweight gatekeeper Rogelio Medina in a mandatory title defense. You know, I'll break the fight down in a minute, and then you're gonna have Lucian Bute at his last attempt at glory, at super middleweight glory, fighting Badou Jack for his title as well. So I believe he has a WBC super middleweight title. So, two solid fights. I think the most interesting thing to me about this card is definitely that DeGale just fought Bute, and then Badou Jack fought Rogelio Medina in 2013. So they're common opponents. We're gonna see these guys fight common opponents on the same night, and they kind of use them as measuring sticks. It's gonna kind of help set up for the big, what we hope happens and hopefully gets signed. The big Badou Jack versus James DeGale fight in the summer. That's the fight we want to see at 168. So we'll get into all that as I go on with this video. But we'll start off with the undercard: James DeGale versus Rogelio Medina. We'll start off with the B side of this fight. Rogelio Medina, 27 years old, orthodox, 36-6, 30 KOs. He comes in, with reputation of being a career gatekeeper. He's fighting DeGale now. He fought Badou Jack earlier. Fought a couple other guys I can't remember right now, but in order to get the big fights at 168, you gotta beat the Rogelio Medinas of the world, and this is a mandatory title defense for James DeGale. So it's a fight that he's expected to win. But Medina is no slouch. He's 27 years old. He's old. He's younger. He is younger than James DeGale. He has put a thorn in hype jobs before. He beat Jalen Love. He TKO'd Jalen Love when Jalen Love was 18-0. So Medina is not the kind of guy you can sleep on. And DeGale is on record himself saying that when he fought, or not DeGale, Badou Jack, I should say. Badou Jack is on record himself saying that DeGale should not take this guy lightly, because this guy right here, very tough. Badou Jack said he gave him a very hard fight, and DeGale can't really look past him. So DeGale, 30 years old, southpaw, 74-inch reach, 22-1 with 14 KOs, comes in. To me, as skill-wise, one of the top 10 to 15 pound for pound fighters in the world, and he's beat good competition his last two fights. Bute put up a good fight, beat Andre Dirrell for the title. So he's beating some good names to get to where he's at right now, and I think this will be another good fight for him. For DeGale, I think just this fight for him is going to test his mental focus, his focus in general, but his mental focus, because we know that he wants the big fights. He wants to fight the Triple G's of the world. He wants to fight, the Badou Jacks of the world. He just wants a big fight, man, and it's easy when you're a champion and you're fighting somebody who's lesser competition to look past him, and those are always the most dangerous fights. So we're gonna see how good James DeGale comes in for this fight. The fight's in Washington D.C., so it's not on home territory. It's not in England. He's one of the very few UK fighters that doesn't have the luxury of fighting in England, which is weird because they usually have A-side advantages. They get to go fight in England, they have Sky Sports behind them, but for whatever reason, James DeGale isn't as popular as like the other English fighters like Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, which is weird to me because when you look at him, he's got an exciting style. He changes stances left and right, punches from weird angles, has a little bit of power. Has a hell of a mouthpiece. He can talk. He can talk his behind off. He's a really exciting guy to listen to. I really wish the fight between him and Andre Ward would have got made. But it's boxing. But DeGale, he's supposed to get past Medina. But this Medina's fifth fight in the USA. He's not he's more accustomed to fighting in the USA now, but a lot of his fights early in Medina's career were in Mexico. So both these guys, are fighting away from home, but you would think that Medina feels a little bit more comfortable in the States than DeGale does. But yeah, it's really about this Badou Jack fight for DeGale. He gets past this, Badou Jack should be right there. Hopefully, and I have a big fear of this, with Mayweather being Badou Jack's promoter, Mayweather's stable of fighters. If you look at TNT and their whole stable of fighters, it's pretty garbage. I'll be honest with you. There's really no way to put it. Outside of Gervonta Davis and Badou Jack, there's really nobody at TNT. I guess that's really it. They have, from a marketing standpoint, I think the person with the most marketability that nobody really knows yet would probably be Latondra Jones, only because she's a female. The talent pool women's boxing isn't as deep as the men, and she's fine. And when you're fine, sex sells, and you can make money off of that. So it is what it is there. But outside of that, I don't really think too much of any of the rest of Mayweather's stable of fighters at this current moment. So my fear is that he's gonna approach promoting that fight and making that fight like he does with his own fights, and letting them marinate and kind of just sitting there forever. Badou Jack is not a young guy. Badou Jack is what, 32 years old. He's not a young guy. DeGale is just turned 30. Neither of these guys are young. So I think if there was ever a time for them to fight now, it's right now. But to get back on topic, as far as a Medina DeGale fight, I see DeGale, outboxing him. Probably, I'd say easily, at least at bare minimum 9-3. I'll give Medina some respect. He's beaten guys in the past, but DeGale, whole other level of fighter, whole other class of fighter. So if he's focused and he's the DeGale that we're accustomed to seeing, I think it should be just another night of work at the ops for James DeGale. So not really too much to say about that fight. I think it's one of those mandatory fights where you kind of know who the favorite is. But I'll move to the main event, because the main event to me is a little more interesting. So in the main event, we're gonna have Badou Jack fighting Lucian Bute. Now, we'll start off with the B side in this fight. At 36 years old, Lucian Bute, the southpaw, comes in with a 72-inch reach and a record of 32-3 with 25 KOs. DeGale, on the other hand, 32 years old, an orthodox who can switch styles like a Terrence Crawford, comes in with a 73-inch reach and a record of 21-1 with 12 KOs. So off the rip, DeGale is young, has the age advantage. He's got a slight reach advantage, and he's just been, he's about. Did I say DeGale? I meant about Badou Jack, not James DeGale. Badou Jack has the slight advantage right now. You would think, because of his age. He's won more fights. He's more confident. They say when you're a champion, you become 20 times better because you become more confident. For the most part, I heard a lot of great people in boxing say things like that. Badou Jack, I'll say this about Badou Jack. He took some real lumps early in his career. He had a loss to Derek Edwards, who's a solid fighter, and he had another draw with, I believe it was Marco Antonio Paraban. But he's been a guy who's a late bloomer. This is only going to be his 23rd professional fight, and he's 32 years old. So all that being taken into account, he's a late bloomer, and he's getting better every fight. Because he drew with a guy like Paraban, who's a C class. Some people even think a D class fighter. Derek Edwards, a solid fighter, but not a world beater. And he was able to, he lost and drew with those guys, and then as champion, he was able to beat undefeated Anthony Durrell and then beat George Groves. So George Groves, a guy that was coming off loss to Carl Froch, but still, George Groves beat James DeGale, the guy that Badou Jack is trying to fight. And Badou Jack had a relatively good performance against George Groves. So it says a lot about Badou Jack and his skill set and his ability to improve and get better and stay in the gym and get better on his craft. The improvements he's made, and he's a late bloomer as a fighter, which I'll get into more later on. But to focus more on Lucian Bute, because we haven't talked too much about him. He just fought James DeGale, and He lost 9-3 on my card. I scored 9-3 in favor of DeGale. He had some really good flurries in that fight, good competitive spurts. It was a good fight. He came to fight. Lucian Bute did not lay down. He did not get outclassed in the manner in which people thought he was going to get outclassed. Some people scored it 8-4. It was a good fight. It was an exciting fight. He was able to give DeGale some really quality rounds. And because he can give DeGale quality rounds, and I know they say the last thing to go at an old age is your power. Fact of the matter is, he's still Lucian Bute. He still packs a mean punch. Still, 25 KOs and 35 fights. You gotta be cognizant of that. You gotta be very conscientious of that. And Badou Jack, like I said, he's improved as a fighter, but still proved in the George Rose fight that he can get hit. He hasn't fought since September, so it's gonna be April 30th when he fights. So that'll mark what? We're talking October, November, December, January, February, March, nearly 7-month layoff. And that can have its effect on a fighter. So Bute fought, I think it was, I want to say October or November. So yeah, Bute actually fought more recently than Badou Jack. So you would be led to believe that maybe he has some advantages that people just aren't paying attention to in this fight. But I think it's a measuring stick for Badou Jack because, like I said earlier, this is his 23rd professional fight against a guy that DeGale was able to go out there and outbox. Now, the interesting thing about the whole DeGale Badou Jack dynamic is that Badou Jack beat George Groves. James DeGale's only losses against George Groves. Okay, and then DeGale outboxed Bute, and Badou Jack is fighting Bute. So it's just interesting. We've had a couple measuring sticks here. Obvious as well. Rogelio Medina, who DeGale is fighting. So we're gonna find out a lot, and I think we'll have a little bit more to talk about when these fights are over. But yeah, Badou Jack's a late bloomer, man. So I think his best years, believe it or not, are actually right here in front of him this next year and a half or so. This will be the best we see Badou Jack. So I would like to see him go in there, and in dominant fashion, if he can, outclass Bute. It's gonna be tough. Bute's experience, he's been around. When he was a champion, he was a successful champion, beat good competition. Guys like Andre Ward decided to go their own way and not fight him. I'm not saying he would have beat him, but I'm saying he was that much of a threat that they had to think twice about fighting him. And Bute, nobody's giving him much of a chance, but you gotta be deep. Badou Jack's gotta be really careful because I mentioned the Rogelio Medina and how DeGale has to have the mental toughness to focus on this current fight and not think about the super fight with Badou Jack. Same thing goes for Badou Jack. He's probably thinking about, in the back of his mind, if I beat this guy, I get DeGale, and he might start looking ahead to DeGale. And unlike DeGale, the guy he has in front of him does offer a little bit more as far as skills go, experience, and is a more dangerous opponent. So he really can't do that. So that's what it is. But if I expect him to go in there, I'm picking Jack to beat Bute via decision. I don't think he's gonna stop Bute, but if he does KO Bute or TKO Bute, that would be a hell of a statement because Badou Jack's not a huge puncher like that. He's not. Only got 12 KOs and what was it, 22 fights, so it is what it is. But Bute being stopped, that'd be a hell of a statement by DeGale. Only guy that talked about Bute, I believe, is Carl Froch. So to put your name with Froch in that manner, that says a lot about you. So I'm picking both these guys to win their fights. Their fights they should win, and if they do, I mean, you're gonna have a hell of a fight right there on the table, and it's up to Mayweather Promotions, Floyd Mayweather, and then Eddie Hearn to sit down, talk, crunch the numbers, get the numbers right, get the money right, get the venue right, and man, you got a great fight ahead of you. DeGale has a hell of a mouthpiece, like I said. He just needs that big fight to really prove how great he is. He beat good competition already, but he needs a bigger one. That's a unification fight. Unifications are always big in boxing. Badou Jack, he fights DeGale. He's gonna be an underdog. There's no way around the board. DeGale is a better fighter skillfully than Badou Jack, but that's what makes that fight so interesting to me, in my opinion, because I mentioned that Badou Jack was a late bloomer. We mentioned how far he's come. He drew a paraband. He lost to Derek Edwards, but he's come a long way. And if he's to beat Bute, have the mental focus to beat a Bute, and then fight DeGale, that's going to be the fight for his career. That's going to be the fight for him because, I mean, at 168 right now, there's not a whole lot of big names. You have Gilberto Ramirez, Jesse Hart's coming up. Those are the guys I really think of when I think of middleweights. But the winner of this fight could go fight Gilberto Ramirez in another unification bout. Hopefully, I know that's top rank. It's gonna be hard to make, but I mean it'd be great. Wishful thinking on my part, but yeah, Badou Jack. That would be the culmination of his improvement if he's able to fight James DeGale, beat a James DeGale, and be unified champion. Then I already believe Badou Jack is one of the few guys in boxing, especially in the Al Haymon stable, who's actually beat good competition to get his title. Very few guys in boxing, especially in the Al Haymon stable of fighters, that beat any form of competition to get the title. He did, so you got to give him credit. But to beat James DeGale in a unification fight, to become unified champion, that just does a lot for his resume, his stock, and it really just shows you the improvement this guy has made over time after drawing the likes of Parabellum and losing to Derek Edwards. So, Badou Jack, I want that fight for him. That's a fight I want for him. For DeGale, he's already beat Andre Durrell, who's a hell of a fighter, who should have fought Ward and should have got the decision over Franz, but that's another story. Beat Andre Durrell, outboxed Lucian Bute in his hometown. He went in his hometown and beat him in Quebec. Now he's he's a champion. So if he's able to beat Badou Jack, then I believe definitely they should make the Gilberto Ramirez fight. He'll have the IBF, he'll have the WBC. Gilberto Ramirez has the WBO, I believe. So who has WBA? I forget who has WBA, but yeah, man, I just want to see great fights at 168. There's some good fighters there. So yeah, man, a lot of high stakes going into this card this weekend. So if you're a boxing fan, just understand that between Jack and DeGale, there's a lot of common opponents. Groves fought both of them. Bute's now gonna fight both of them. Medina's fought both of them. So we're talking about 3 common opponents, and that's always an interesting thing to look at. So, yep, Badou Jack will beat, my predictions, Badou Jack beats Bute, unanimous decision. DeGale beats Medina, unanimous decision. Medina, my bold prediction for that fight, though, is that Medina does win at least 2 rounds. I give him 2 or 3 rounds. But that's what it is, man. Let me know what you guys think. James DeGale versus Rogelio Medina, Badou Jack versus Lucian Bute, PBC on NBC. It'll be happening this Saturday. Friday is Ortiz-Berto 2. So that's the fight for this weekend. And then the following weekend, we're going to have Canelo, and I'm going to try to do it big on the channel for that week. So you guys stay tuned for that. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Take the time to subscribe, and you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.